In this video, we'll be showing you another render type you can create, the ray trace image. Ray trace rendering generates the highest quality output, converting our 3D garment into a photorealistic 2D image. Note that for ray trace rendering, you must be able to use one of the ray trace render engines, Blender, Modo, or V-Ray. First, we will show you how to select the ray trace render engine. In Preferences, we go to the Render section and click on the drop-down to make a selection. Note that the available settings change according to the render engine that is selected. If we want to render using Blender, we must ensure that we install Blender on our computer. You'll find a link to the installation for Blender version 2.83 in the lesson summary. Once the software is installed, we ensure that Blender is selected as the ray trace renderer within vStitcher Preferences. Ensure Local Blender is selected. In Blender Path, we click Browse. A File Explorer window is displayed, and we can navigate to the location of the Blender app, select it, and click Open. The Remote option, if selected, will render the garments in the cloud, which would produce the render output much faster. This is great if we're rendering a large file or are using high-quality settings for our renders. There are two options for the Remote option. If you choose RenderStreet, you must have a RenderStreet account. If you don't have a RenderStreet account, you can visit their website to find out more about their subscription plans. Browser Render Cloud is a new cloud rendering service available within Lota and vStitcher as an optional extra. For more information, you can contact your browser representative. Note, if Blender is selected as the ray trace renderer, once you render a garment, Blender will render the garment in the background of your computer. You do not need to open or load the software before rendering. The next option is Modo. Similarly, you will require to install Modo on your computer and add the Modo path into vStitcher Preferences. You can find out more on how to render with Modo on our help site. The last option is V-Ray. For V-Ray, you do not have to install the software on your computer. To render locally, select Local V-Ray. Similarly, you have remote options for V-Ray, which utilizes Browser Render Cloud. To find out more information about setting up the different ray trace render engines, you can visit our Help Center. For this lesson, let's use V-Ray Local. If you have access to the Browser Render Cloud, then you can select the V-Ray Remote option. Let's begin with the prepared garment and load a snapshot of the finished simulation. To render, we click on the camera icon in the main toolbar. In the Render window, we can now choose the render type. By clicking the drop-down, we can see the available render types. We select Ray Trace Render. When we choose Ray Trace Render, the render quality option is displayed. The higher the quality, the better the render, and the longer it takes to produce the render. The lower qualities generate a slightly grainy image. We recommend using them to test lighting or for general previewing. The higher qualities produce a smoother image but take longer time. Such output is best for final production. There are several settings and options available for the render, and we cover these in a separate video. For now, we'll assume all the render settings are good, and we can go ahead and click Render. A File Explorer window is displayed, so we can set the name of the render output and where we want to save it. After a short time, a File Explorer with the location of the rendered image opens. There the images are available and we can see the results. In this video, you've learned how to create a ray trace render. For more information, check out the Browser Help Center.